Sociosexuality, having sex without emotional attachment. There are people who prefer to have casual sex, and the kind where there is no emotional connection with the other. This tendency is called sociosexuality. Sexuality has for a long time been cleansed of some of the taboos that were previously associated with sexuality. This is evident from the increasing recognition and acceptance of different sexual orientations and practices. One of them is sociosexuality. It refers to having sex for pure physical pleasure without any emotional or personal ties. The term was coined by biologist and sexologist Alfred Kinsey in the first half of the 20th century. However, it became more popular in the 90s. In fact, psychometric instruments have even been created to measure the degree of sociosexuality in humans. We must emphasize that sociosexuality is not a new sexual orientation, but rather that the term refers to a pattern of behavior that has always existed and that many choose. Nevertheless, such behavior used to be stigmatized, especially for women. Today, however, it enjoys a certain openness. In fact, there are even apps that allow sociosexual people to connect with each other so they can enjoy intimate encounters without commitment. How is sociosexuality measured? Perhaps you wonder how sociosexuality manifests in humans. Is it a categorical term or can it be expressed in degrees? Psychology professor Lars Penck has created an instrument to measure this behavior, which he called the Sociosexual Orientation Inventory, SOIR. The test consists of a questionnaire with 9 questions which are divided into 3 categories. Behavior: the number of people with whom the participant has had casual sex without any emotional attachment. Attitude: the attitudes they have towards sociosexuality. Desire: their desire to maintain sociosexual relationships. Based on the data produced by the 9 questions, a compatibility profile is obtained for the person with sociosexuality. Differences between men and women. It is a well-known fact that society has stigmatized women more than men when it comes to showing sexual openness. Today this is not as pronounced as in the past. However, there are still certain cultural prejudices which largely determine the way in which women and men experience their sexuality. Having said that, it is quite legitimate to ask whether there are gender differences in the manifestation of sociosexuality. Right from the beginning, researchers have considered this variable as a decisive factor. Therefore, they have used the SOIR to investigate whether there were differences between men and women. Men scored higher on the SOIR than women. In other words, men feel more comfortable with sociosexuality than women. Nevertheless, we must be careful with these generalizations, as there are individual differences between the same sex that must be taken into account. Psychologist Anna Campbell and sociologist Paula England demonstrated that heterosexual men have a higher degree of satisfaction than women with sociosexuality. Women tend to report feelings of guilt after sexual encounters that lack affection, or feelings of disappointment when they see that the relationship does not involve more than sexual contact. That said, the results vary if one introduces the variable sexual orientation. For example, women who identified as bisexual had higher sociosexuality scores than women who identified as heterosexual or lesbian. For men, gay men showed a high level of sociosexuality compared to bisexual and heterosexual men. Other factors related to sociosexuality. In addition to gender sexual orientation, there are other variables that have a significant influence on the manifestation of sociosexuality. E.g., research suggests that individuals who exhibit certain individual characteristics, such as openness to experience, extraversion, or impulsivity, have higher scores on the SOIR. On the other hand, individuals with individual characteristics such as kindness, humility, and honesty score lower on sociosexual behavior. Individuals with an avoidant attachment style are more likely to develop a pattern of sociosexual behavior. In contrast, people with a secure attachment are the least likely to develop this behavior. Another variable related to this type of sexual behavior is religion. People with an intrinsic religious orientation, where religion is an end in itself, tend to have low sociosexuality. While individuals with extrinsic religion, as a means to an end, score high on the SOIR. The factors associated with sociosexuality are not exhausted here. In fact, it has also been related to variables such as age and psychopathy, among others. Therefore, we can confirm that it is sexual behavior that cannot be understood in isolation. Furthermore, not everyone experiences it in the same way or with the same intensity.